I personally believe a big part of my journey of healing, or my journey of sobriety, has been based upon the layers of healing that I've stepped into,
Yeah.
which was having grace and compassion and mercy for my greatest offender, which was my dad. Like
Mm.
actually like really forgiving him
Yep.
and not wanting to hurt him anymore. I wanted to kill him. Like that's the one person that I really wanted to like really hurt because of what he had done to my mom and my brothers.
And then seeing your mom come through so strong for you,
Yeah.
I'm sure that
Oh,
it just angered you even more. Yeah.
well, she was married to him for 27 years,
Oh,
and God only knows why she stayed that long.
yeah.
That's between her.
Well, that is the relationship with the abuser. I've
Yeah.
seen it.
Right.
Talk to many people.
Right.
They don't think they have a way out. They're convinced there's no way out. They're
Right.
convinced they don't even have a way to
Mm-mm.
live without this
Right.
abuse.
Right. So she finally left and separated herself from that. But, you know, through the process, I also learned that I had to figure out how to forgive her because she was the only one I trusted. And she continued to put me in a situation that was harming me
Yeah.
on a daily basis. So through the process of forgiveness, I figured out I was actually more angry with my mom than I was my dad.
Yep.
Because my mom was following God. My mom was sober. My mom was the prayer warrior. I'm like, how could you keep us? Now, if you were on drugs and you were doing whatever you're doing, that make total sense why you'd be bound up with it. But this doesn't make any sense to me on why you would keep your most precious creations
Yeah.
in this harmful situation. Well, when you come to understand certain things as you get older, it's not like she wanted to be there.
Yeah.
She was a victim too. And then I go back through her childhood. Same stuff happened to her that happened to me.
Yeah.
And he was doing the same thing to her that had been done to her by her other relatives. When does the cycle stop and where does it end?
Yeah. Generational trauma.
It just keeps going.
Yep.
It's messed up.
Yep.
And so we can step into a place and I can be angry as long as I want with my dad if I want to. I can be as angry as I want with my mom. I can take out that anger every single day of my life and be absolutely miserable. Or I can reconcile within myself and forgive others and let go the things that happened and not have them be my identity, which I was that they were my identity. That was my chip.
Yep.
Nobody's going to stop me. You know, my brain was like, look, I've been abused my whole life. Like it was this level of kind of my fight. Like if I saw somebody doing something that was similar, like to what happened to me or what it was like, it's just my excuse is what it was.
Yeah.
Instead of like finding peace and finding joy and finding hope and finding happiness, you know, long story short, when we step into the arena of healing, we then can help others.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
But it's uncomfortable because when you've been raised with trauma and that's all you've seen and that's all you know, you literally have to recreate who you are because it's such a part of your DNA and your programming.
That's what had to happen.
Yeah.
I had to go through, and this was hard. You know, I remember in 2017, and I'd already been sober for a long time. I just wasn't ready to like actually deal with what I call my demons.
Yeah.
Right? Just because you're sober doesn't mean you dealt with your stuff. It really doesn't.
No. In fact, I believe we kind of avoid a lot of that stuff because we're learning how to be sober. And when we start thinking about that stuff we want to use, so we just need to focus on building foundation and being sober.
Right. That's exactly correct. And you're very wise in this stuff. You've been sober longer than me. And, you know, obviously you lead a huge movement. So we connect very well. But a lot of people actually don't understand this. They just judge from what you've become. And they really don't understand why you became what you are. And that's why people like you are so important, because we need to be able to empathize with the molested, the raped, the beaten, the violated. Like we need to be able to come in and like, hey, I have been there. I know where you are and we're going to get through this, but you can't do this on your own.
Yeah.
Like you can try, but a community of people coming together in compassion, not pity, right?
Yep.
Compassion's a lot different than pity.
Way different.
Compassion says, I see where you are and I love you enough to not leave you there. Pity feels bad for where you are and condones why you are where you are.
Yeah, it almost enforces the victimhood.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, that's so.
Yeah.
I'm not a puppy dog, right? Like, that's not how I need to be treated. And I don't treat other people that way. Like, you are powerful, but you're going to have to learn how to lock arms with people that are going to love you, and you're going to have to let people love you well. That was part of my process of healing. So in 2017, I spent upwards of anywhere between 4 to 10 hours a day for a year straight journaling.
Wow.
On the floor, crying at a level that I'd never thought a human being could cry. And that there was a point where I actually could feel my heart and my soul and my brain being healed at the same time. And I do believe there was divine intervention that happened to that, because compassion has started to take over. And do I see my dad? No, I don't, because I had made a request. I would love for you to have a relationship with your grandchildren, but I can't have that if you're not going to be sober. My son's 14 and he has seen my son, I think, twice his whole life. I didn't make that choice, but I had to set a boundary. It's not a boundary of anger. It's a boundary so my son doesn't have to see what I saw. Right.
Well, and you put it in his court. And if being your son was important to him, he would make those hard choices.
Correct. And I felt like there was an opportunity for my dad to actually have healing with being a grandfather to my son and getting to restructure and do some things different than he did with me.
Yeah.
But he's chosen to not take advantage of that. That's sad. But it didn't bring me to a place of like hating him again. I actually feel very like my heart breaks for him because he's so broken. And I don't know what happened to him. I know that his grandpa, my great grandpa, was a 33 and a third degree Mason. I know that. So then I started doing all these studies on, that's a whole nother podcast, but studies that I did.
We'll do that next one.
I didn't know what I was actually stepping into in regards to research.
Oh, shit.
It was not pleasant.
Yeah.
And so that actually, though, I'm like, obviously I don't have any proof, but if what I read, and it was from several different sources and books, it wasn't some disinformation stuff on the internet. If the rituals that I read are accurate, and if my dad was even in part of any of those, it is why he ended up the way he ended up.
Wow.
If, right?
Yeah.
I don't have proof.
Yeah.
Because he won't talk about anything. Yeah. Right. He's never, and I don't see him anymore. I think I've seen him twice in like 17 years or something like that.
Yeah.
But, when we take this full circle, you had a 20-year-old kid that thought he could take over the world and had his legs taken out, right? And when your legs taken out, the only thing you can do is fall down on your knees, right? So I had to forgive myself. I got to choose to forgive others. And then I also, anybody that I could have thought of, I did the best I could to try to come and make amends. Some people wouldn't talk to me, which I understand. I hurt a lot of people.
Sure. My
youngest brother, who was involved in this, he didn't talk to me for years. Like, I think it was like 5 years or something. Like, it was such a long period of time. It might have been 10 for all. I mean, if I remember correctly, he was done with me, completely done. I lost my whole family. Right. Then I had to go back through the process of building trust with my oldest daughter. I mean, she watched her mom get put in cuffs. Now, her mom chose to live at my house and do everything she was doing, but I was the ringleader.
Yeah.
I was the one. It's not like she knew how to cook blow down. Come on, man.
Yeah.
It's not like she knew the cartel to come and drop off the pounds, the pound or half pound or whatever, amount of cocaine that got dropped off. Yeah. She didn't have the connection with the LSD chemist. Right.
Yeah.
And so, I kind of turned her into a victim as well. She still had choices, but like none of it would have been around her if it wasn't for me.
Sure.
Right. And I took responsibility in that. And
what's your relationship like now with her?
With my oldest daughter?
No, your oldest daughter's mother.
We went to court, I think 7 times.
Wow.
Different custody battles.
That's hard.
I got full custody. She didn't stop using. She was still drinking pretty heavily. And I Mackenzie got to the point where she's like, I don't want to go to my mom's anymore. So I got full custody of her when she was 11 or 12. I got full custody of my oldest. And that was kind of the beginning of things starting to come full circle for me. I think she saw, well, I don't think she saw me make do on my word. I didn't drink. I didn't carouse. I changed. Like, that's literally what I got to prove to her. And in the midst of it, I never not showed up when she was living in her mom's. I'd drive 6 hours round trip to bring her flowers. I'd drive 6 hours round trip to watch her dance. I didn't miss. I didn't miss events. Now, obviously I wasn't there in the day to day because I didn't live in the same area, but I was there every week, or she was with me on the weekends. I probably drove 200,000 miles to try it, just to
be part of her life.
I
You earned her trust.
Yeah. I was never, and she told me before she got married 2 weeks ago. So,
congratulations.
yeah, I was coming right off that pneumonia that I called you about. Yeah. So I wasn't even back to normal.
Yeah.
So that was very difficult for me. Obviously, I just had to shut up because, your kid gets married one time, or you hope that they're going to get married one time. And I wasn't back to my normal. I was still in the aftermath of a 2-month pneumonia.
Yeah.
And so, but she had told me before she got married, she said, Dad, God is my witness. You are the only person that has done exactly what they said they were going to do, and also taken responsibility for everything that they've done to hurt me, and didn't make excuses. You didn't blame. She said, I know your story. You have thousands of excuses on why you turned out the way you did, and you've not made one of them and put it on me. Yeah. You have taken responsibility, and she is, and I'm, obviously as a grown man, you hear that from your kid. I don't make excuses.
Sure.
I'm not going to go blame my dad for what he did to me for the choices that I made. That's a victim.
Yep.
No, I'm powerful. Whether I was 15 or not, I chose to hit the streets. I chose to learn the drug game.
Yep.
I chose to bring family members involved. I chose to bring my daughter in harm's way. Therefore, I'm now responsible, which means I'm powerful. So if I made the choice, that also means that I can clean up my mess.
Yep.
Right. And so I spent a long time cleaning that up. And after I finished my wobbler, I have no criminal record. I then became a mortgage broker and owned mortgage branch. I was making more money doing mortgage at one time. I was making more money doing mortgage than I was in the drug game.
Yeah.
And it was legal.
Wow.
Right. I was doing really well.
Yeah. And you were helping people
totally
get their dream homes.
I totally was refinancing it, helping them get money that they needed during whatever time it may be, for whatever an incident, whatever situation they need to take care of. And, so if you look back, and if you would have told me when I was 20 that I would actually be in the financial realm, I would have laughed at people because I was a criminal. Right. And so
but you had to be really good with numbers. Like when you were talking about the 5 for the pound, the this, the ounce, I'm like, that shit just goes straight over my head. So you had training for that mortgage by being a dealer, I think.
Oh, you absolutely are correct. And I've talked about this on other podcasts. Do you know what I did? In the banking world, all I did was take my phone skills and my people skills and learn the laws of mortgage. That's it.
Yeah.
I could be a stockbroker. I could be anything that has to do with generating leads. I'm an ace.
Yeah.
You're not going to find very many people that are better at building sales organizations than I am. It's just, and I've been building them since I was a little kid.
Yeah.
And just because I was doing it with drugs doesn't mean that it's not a sales organization.
Of course.
Everybody under me was
your resume, top sales.
Everybody under me was organized.
Entrepreneur.
Yes. I mean, we didn't talk about this, but along with everything I had going on with the drug realm, I also owned a glass manufacturing operation. I had a several thousand square foot building. I had $100-something thousand worth of glass blowing equipment. I had 10 guys working for me. I had a screen printing company. I owned stores on the plaza in Arcata. I owned a gem and mineral store. I owned an urban clothing store. This was all before the age of 23.
Wow.
I was paying my workman's comp insurance before I even knew what it was.
Yeah.
Because I had 10 guys blowing glass for me. I had delivery trucks that were driving the blown glass to all the different head shops in California. I was top 3 bong makers in the country.
Wow.
I had a scientific lathe that was making, I was making a couple, $3,000 a day in glass. So I've had this kind of, capacity to build businesses since I was really young. And I think I was actually born with the gifting to do that.
Yeah.
It's not something that it was just there. Sometimes people are born with those giftings, and I just have always done well in business. And so, you know, being that said, the mortgage stuff was awesome, but I really wanted a way to give back.
Mm.
That was my search. So I started working with at-risk youth, and in the midst of it, I was raised in hip hop. I was raised in the roots of when, from Beastie Boys to Run DMC, that LL Cool J, Rakim. I was raised in that, and then we entered into the Wu-Tang 36 Chambers, and then it just kept KRS-One. Like, I was just a huge hip hop head altogether. Well, shortly after my court stuff, it was probably like 2004. I started writing, and I started to figure out that I was a really good writer, and I could tell stories very well.
That year of journaling probably really helped with this.
Yes, it did.
Yeah.
It did. That actually capitalized it and kind of put it on steroids. I'd already been writing for about 12 years before that journaling started.
Wow.
But it made it brought a lot more depth to it, right? So I probably got a couple, 400 med composition books filled with lyrics.
Dang.
Filled. And they're all surrounded around helping people out of substance abuse and trauma. All of it. It's empathizing, it's relating, and it just came natural to me.
Yeah.
So, a big part of the transition for me, which we were talking about, was, meeting Head from Korn in 2012.
Yeah.
And then coming to getting to know him and realizing that, our daughters are only a month apart. And he had made some, for a lot of people who've seen Loud Crazy Love, he had made some similar decisions around his child that I'd made around mine. So we found that commonality. And Brian's actually my friend. I never was like, hey, I really want you to help me make it in the music industry. That's never, all I ever wanted from Brian was just to be his friend. That's it. Because I didn't like it when I had, a couple 100 pounds in my room, and all the blow and all the L and all the Deemsters and all the pills. A lot of people were just around, just sucking me dry.
Yeah.
And I never wanted to make anybody else feel that way. And so Brian, out of the kindness of his heart, he helped us get our management deal. He got us our distribution deal, or helped us get our distribution deal with Noble Poets. And the whole music and the whole message is centered around recovery. All of it is. All the hip hop that we do. And so we got really, really blessed with our first show was the Blue Ridge Festival, which I think I told you about. Slipknot played, Jack Black played, and we opened up for Tech Nine and Nelly, right? That was our first show. Well, Brian had helped with that process, and he's still helping with that process. He got us all the magazine articles that have come out. The press has actually been around Head discovering Noble Poets, which is kind of how they played that. That's not what I was expecting. I don't think that's what he was expecting either. That's not what I was wanting, but I didn't want to use Brian's name to get ahead.
Yeah.
It's just, I'm never going to be that way. Yeah. I'm just not wired like that. So I actually have a hard time receiving help from anybody, to be honest with you. But Brian came in and he was like, hey, this is what he said to me. He goes, I'm not going to force my help on you, but I'm giving you permission, and you have to ask. And I'm not really sure why he worded it that way. Still to this day, I process what he told me. And I think there was something in me that needed to get worked out. And what I mean by worked out, there was an area in me that was locked up and in prison that is afraid to ask for help because of that rejection and abandonment that I grew up with. Right. Yeah. Brian's helped with that process. And we just, over the last 13 years, we've just become really good friends. And, my manager that he got, we're the only hip hop group that he has. He manages Butcher Babies and Escape to Fate and a lot of other groups that are not even in,
that genre
at all. No, but he called and said, "Hey, you know, your guys' first tour is going to be with Ritz," and which is he's one of my favorite rappers of all time. He signed to Tech Nine's label, Strange Music, I think in 2012 or 2011, and he's a platinum artist. He did a couple tracks with Mike Posner, and those two tracks went platinum. So we did 3 tours with Ritz, and we just got another tour offer about a month ago. But we're also headlining at the NA convention in Omaha, Nebraska. And I say all this not because I'm sitting here tooting my horn. What I'm saying all this is through this whole journey of sobriety and health and wellness and mental clarity and my heart being healed, and walking in forgiveness, all of these blessings and abundance has it seems to keep coming towards and for and through my life.
Yeah.
Right. And so the newest venture that you and I have actually been talking about is, helping people actually get into treatment. And I learned very quickly on how to, work with hospitals and work directly with uh certain people who are in charge of helping these patients get connected with somebody who can, you know, be a co-pilot to,
Yeah.
land the plane and help somebody's life
Yeah.
actually get transformed and start the healing journey, the process to no longer being bound to substance. So
Yeah, which is so needed because so many people don't get help because they don't know there's quality help, or they don't
right,
know how to do it, or they're in a moment of crisis and they can't even think.
right, yeah,
Super important job in this
yeah,
world for sure.
yeah. It's very fulfilling when you get a phone call from a family member that says, "Hey, you saved my child's life."
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
and I haven't been doing this for very long, but I've already gotten some.
Yeah.
And it's very rewarding when you can come alongside. I truly believe there was a couple of them that I helped get into treatment, and if I did not have the story to recircle and honor what you had to say, or come alongside in agreement with what you had to say, if I didn't have the story and I wasn't able to tell that story to patients, a lot of them just think you're a suit coming in trying to get them fixed.
Right.
Instead of, "Hey, do you have 10 minutes? I know you're going through detox in the hospital right now, but do you have a couple minutes? Can I share my story where I was and
Yeah.
why I know where you are right now and you're not alone?"
Yeah.
I haven't had one tell me no.
Well, and that's like the most important thing is creating that reality of like, I'm not better than you. I've been in your shoes.
Yeah.
That gives people hope,
Hmm.
inspiration, and clout. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, you actually do understand what's going on with me. It's
Yep.
not like, oh, you people don't know, you suits that have never done a
Right.
drug and got all your training from school. You have
Yeah.
no idea what I'm going through.
Right. Right.
We
Or
can say, actually, I can and I do and I have. And
yeah.
that right there just handles so much.
Well, and you're hitting it on the head when we can actually empathize with compassion and be honest and have integrity when you're doing it, that builds a level of trust
Yeah.
with that person that you've never met before. And they don't want to know what you know until they know you care. That's a very, very, very powerful statement that people do not want to know how much you know until they know how much you care.
Mm,
And you give me 5 minutes with somebody, they're going to know that I'm genuine, that I'm authentic. There's nothing worse to me than a judgmental addict.
yeah.
I can't stand that. It makes me so sick to my stomach because I'm like, 8 years ago, you were what you're judging right now. No,
Yeah.
we're not doing that. And I see that in the sobriety
Mm,
community. We can get judgy.
mm.
It's like, oh, wait a second. Did you not remember that you robbed your parents' house so you could snort a line of dope? Oh, you don't remember that,
Yeah.
right? Or whatever that thing is that we did. And so I try to stay not not beating myself up for what I did, but I try to stay connected to that because the moment that I forget where I came from, I can't help other people get to where they need to go.
Yeah.
They are there, and I need to go back to that place with them and get down into the underbelly of the roots of why we're alive and what we're here to do and the fact that there is hope and you do not have to stay this way. It's going to be hard. You're going to have to do work, but if you're committed,
yeah.
your life will change and it will be better. I've not met a sober person that is pissed off that they don't have oxy up their nose. I've not met one.
Yeah.
Every single one that has made a chance to get sober, their life has immediately gotten better. It's like almost like God's way of honoring, like doors just start to open for people.
True.
Why is that?
I think we raise our vibration and start
Yep.
living in gratitude.
Yeah.
You know, like
Yeah.
being grateful we're not that person anymore. Yep. And that comes with forgiveness and letting all that other shit go.
Yep.
But when we can live in gratitude because we remember where we came from and grateful for the things that we have, there's like that higher vibe that I think attracts the good things to be able to come in.
Yep. We talk about, for you and I talk about frequency all the time because that higher gyrating, a lot of the music is actually made at 440, and they're now starting to prove that 440 hertz is actually what is designed. The world was vibrating at 432, and that's Mozart's frequency. That's where the healing comes from. That's where the rest comes from. Well, 440 is actually creating anger, division, and dissonance. Well, all of our music is actually at 444, which is 528. Well, the nothing on the earth is harmonizing at 440. That's where all the negativity is coming from.
Yeah.
And when we're addicted and we're bound and we're living in that place, we are gyrating the wrong frequency and nothing good comes out of that lower vibration.
Yeah.
Once we start to step into that higher level of harmony and we're connected with others and we're connected with creation, it's like the doors just magically seem to fall into place.
Yeah.
And things just work out. I'm not really I'm still trying. I'm on this journey of trying to learn this and figure all this out.
It's so cool though to have that journey and to discover new things. I mean, at our age, it's like I love learning all that new shit. We just had a guy on the podcast and we were talking about the vibes and he was saying 963. Like that's the God frequency. So if you can tune into that or listening to that, then you're like, way up there.
I'm very familiar with 963. A rapper that passed away a couple years ago. His name was XXX Tentacion, and he had been studying frequency for years. So he would create a certain song that was attached to that was created in a certain frequency to accomplish a certain emotion with that frequency. And a lot of his music was bringing a lot of healing to a lot of people. A lot of people didn't like it because he was very broken. He was hurting like the rest of us are. But his mission and his agenda was to connect with people and use frequency. Part of what he was doing was use frequency to do that. And so he got murdered, I think in 2020 or 2021, something like that. But the reality is what we're trying to accomplish, especially with the music, is I want people to understand they're not alone. Right? Songs have a capacity to do something that a lot of things can't do on this planet. And I have watched noble poets get used. I have gotten messages that we released a track on Suicide Awareness Month called Dying. And when I was praying, I was like, if this just saves one person's life from not committing suicide, I don't care how much I had to spend to get the track done, mixed, all of it, right?
Yeah.
Well, sure enough, it got released, and within like 2 months, somebody reached out from Asia, and they were like, "Hey, I was going to kill myself. Thank you. You just saved my life." And I was like, complete, mission complete. And maybe it's saved more that haven't spoken up, but it is about the desperate place of trying to find life and the purpose in it and not wanting to end it, whether it be through suicide or drug addiction, overdose, right? Liver failure, whatever it may be that the substance is doing to your body. We have dedicated ourselves to the passionate movement. There's nobody I have seen yet. There probably are some out there that I haven't heard. I don't want to act like I'm the golden child, but I don't hear in hip hop people doing what noble poets are doing. I don't.
Yeah.
I hear pushing perk 30s. I hear the degrading of women.
Yep.
I hear
violence.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. I don't hear value in yourself. I don't hear finding yourself. I don't hear empowerment.
Yeah.
So we're trying to do something different. And that grain, when you're going against the grain,
Yeah.
makes things a lot harder
Yeah.
to accomplish what you're going after. Right.
But you got to go rogue.
I know. Well, that's the whole.
You go with the mainstream, right? Like everybody's doing that. There's nothing unique or special about that.
Yeah. Well, most people aren't telling their stories either.
Right.
So if we, if we take, Jelly Roll used to be a rapper, right? If we actually take Jelly's songs off his record that he just dropped a couple months ago in November, if we actually listen to the content of what he's talking about, it's very similar to what Noble Poets is doing. He's very honest, and when I hear him talking about, look, I'm not okay. Like he's very vulnerable and very honest, and he's empathizing with people, right? And he's been doing that, and I really believe that is why the world is so hungry for authenticity.
Yeah.
We're so hungry for something that's real.
Yeah.
And it gives people something to grab onto. And if they can also know that the artist or the treatment facility owner wants to actually give compassion and gives them something to walk with and walk through and be part of something, it turns that person into a lifelong fan.
Yeah.
Right? My fans aren't fans. I call them friends because we're all in the same community trying to be better. Right? It's a huge community of people that are trying to come together and actually do something different to help make this world better.
Yeah.
So that's the goal and the mission.
Yeah. Well, and I'll just end with this. We're talking about frequencies and, the scale of frequencies, different emotions that go up and down the scale. And most people think love is at the top. Obviously, if you could love your enemy, if you could love anything, that is like as high as you could go. But Gary Brecka, he's a scientist. He says there's actually one above that, and that is authenticity. Mm-hmm. So when you hear somebody who's authentic, when you get to know somebody and you pick that up, they're operating at such a high vibe, it brings you up. And that's why it's so appealing and relatable to others, especially in the world we live in where, it's always been the same, but fake and, ulterior motives and all the different things. But when you run into somebody who's super authentic and vulnerable, whether, what they're saying is 100% right or wrong, doesn't matter,
right?
But they're being themselves. People just resonate with that.
I love Dr. Gary Brecka. It's interesting that you know who that. It doesn't surprise me that you know who that is. I absolutely love. Is that where you got your cold plunge tank from?
I had mine before he started. I had it before everybody.
He actually has a company now.
Yeah.
That makes them here in the Midwest. I think it's in the Midwest, and they're $8,000 for the deluxe one.
They are now. Well, I got it. It wasn't that much, but now they're super popular. So yeah.
Goodness gracious. Yeah. For the ones that aren't like that silicone tube plastic stuff, they're expensive. But
my guy, my HR guy, Billy, he lives in Oregon. He made his own out of like the big metal trough. And they'll come put ice in there and they'll have a lid for it and it'll stay pretty cold throughout the winter.
Yeah. Wow. I'd like to purchase one. I'll need things to turn around a bit financially.
You could also do this. So then our guys up in Tahoe, they just go jump in the lake. That is like the coldest plunge ever, like Tahoe. So if you got a cold stream of water anywhere near you, you could just do that.
I have not thought about that. We have the Sacramento River. Right now, I'm pretty sure the temperature in the river is around 38 degrees.
There you go. Go get in that thing.
Yeah.
Go get in that bad boy first thing in the morning.
Oh my gosh.
It's so hard.
Yeah. Wow. That's a rough one to think about.
But that just really gets, your cells regenerating and rejuvenating and the adrenaline. Like it is awesome. I hate it so much, but after I do it, I feel so good. Yeah. I feel like a badass bitch and then when I'm in there, I'm just speaking affirmations like that. Yeah. Badass bitch. You're affirming it while I'm freezing to death. So yeah. It's fun stuff.
Well, Dr. Brecka he's just absolutely phenomenal human being. And he's a true biohacker. Yeah. And so. Yeah.
And his story's amazing. Why he left the insurance, companies and, their terrible motives and everything else. So he is an awesome guy. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, what an honor and a blessing it's been to be here today and to be with you and just get to celebrate what you're doing with the Going Rogue podcast and everything you're doing actually for humanity. I really, really value it and thankful to get to know you and continue getting to know you, and just watching your passion and zeal for human beings in general. It's very rare. This is not an easy field that you're in. No. And it's empowering for me to watch it. It's helping patients in the short period of time that I have. It can be very tiring, because you want the best for them. And sometimes they don't want the best for themselves. Yep. There's emotional stuff. Yeah. And you're watching people go through trauma. Yep. That's traumatic. You don't want to see people going through trauma. I don't want to see anybody hurt. Yeah. I want this world to be free. So kudos to you for, continuing to do what you've been doing for 30 years. Yeah. It's wonderful.
Thanks. So. Now you get to see me go, run the clients and staff in a fitness comp.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm actually looking forward to this.
And then a graduation. So awesome. we got a big day ahead of us.
Well, let's get it. Thank you again for having me today.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on.
Absolutely.